Good afternoon, Penny Croal. Lovely to have you on the show this afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me, Elaine. I'm very excited about this.
So you are a health specialist and you've got quite a number of areas that you help people with. So which would you like to start with?
Well, my passion, and I think we've got something in common here, is cancer. Although I specialize in serious disease, cancer is my main passion. So anything you'd like to ask me, anything I can help, assist, divulge, I should say.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay. So how did you end up with cancer as being your specialism? It's not an easy topic, is it?
No, it's not. And weirdly, I've never been diagnosed medically with cancer. Like yourself, like your amazing inspirational story, Elaine. I was actually, my mother had cancer, like many families, my aunts, my siblings, everybody else has had cancer in my family apart from myself. I actually had a couple of nervous breakdowns, and I kept on trying to change my life, and until my nervous breakdown really woke me up and led me to becoming a Reiki master, which led me to crystal healing, which led me to tapping, and from tapping led me to matrix reimprinting. I was also an NLP practitioner, and then it stumbled as I'm stumbling with my words, stumbled across Meta Health, and finally I had that missing link for me to why and for what purpose we become ill, whether mentally or physically. And I was so curious, and I'm just so curious about human beings and how we adapt and evolve, that I started working with allergies, and then I got a bit bored. I know it sounds a bit odd, but I was a bit bored with it, and I vowed I'd never work with cancer until one lady phoned me up and said, "I want to work with you." And I said, "But I've never worked with cancer before." And she went, "I don't care. I've listened to you on interviews. I want to work with you." And when I worked with her, it was almost as if this profound shift in my heart, Elaine, and I knew that was my passion, and where that became my role and my purpose and my calling. I know it sounds very cliched, but that was definitely a calling. So that lady, I can't divulge her name, but she was the person that I owe my life to, really.
Wow, how profound is that? And so many things that you've said are, I hear often people who've found one healing modality that's led them to another, then another, then another. And somewhere in there, they kind of lose their way. But luckily, you found your passion through this dear lady. And how long have you now been working with cancer patients?
For a decade now.
Right, wow. Wow.
And so for me, because I look at it in a slightly alternative, and I'm not just talking about a holistic way, a biological way of for what purpose the body does create the cancer, it's not solely about the healing, it's about the process and inviting people to understand totally what their body is screaming at them. Because, Elaine, I don't know if you agree with me. However, by the time that our body is creating that cancer, it's not just whispering to us. It's actually screaming at us to do something vitally different. And for me, that's thrive and live in life and not merely exist anymore and suppress our emotional traumas and perspectives and be suppressed by whatever is going on in life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Penny. And so often I find that people think that you can take a tablet or just do a round of chemo, put a few lotions and potions in your body, and that's it. It's not. There's the whole ton of stuff. I'm just launching now my first wellness program because I've been exhausted myself having so many conversations with people on guiding them what to do. I'm putting it all together in a program. And
beautiful.
It's a 10 modules, 10 different areas. So yeah, you're absolutely right. When people kind of wake up and realize what they need to do, and it's not just one or two things. Do you know, some people turn around and say to me, oh, I can't change my diet. Oh, I don't like juicing. Oh no, it tastes horrible. Well, really, do you really want to get better? And not everybody does, do they?
I know, and I talk about this actually a lot, Elaine, because that was quite a challenge for me, becoming a practitioner, that I discovered that some people just simply don't want to heal, and they don't want to change. In fact, my company is called Change Ahead, as you're aware. And
Yes.
my colleague in Denmark said to me on stage when we were speaking to about 500 people, he went, why did you call your company Change Ahead? Nobody wants to make changes. And I went, okay, wasn't quite prepared for that one. I think we're quite similar. I was reading your website, and you said you were quite direct, and I also am quite direct, because there's no point in being fluffy and sitting there and because I did this myself. I became very holistic, went off to ashrams, went to find myself in India, discovered it was inside me all the time.
Yes.
And became that person that lit nice, my house smelt beautiful. I was staring at the candle, oming, and yet nothing was changing in my life. And I was waiting for life to come to me. And I realized that I had to stand up and actually make the changes myself. And it was incredibly challenging. And there was nobody there to support me or say, this is going to be okay. I went from course to course, and fortunately met Carl Dawson from Matrix Reimprinting, who was my catalyst and my mentor and support. So I'm very humble towards him that he put up with all my, I don't know if I can do this. Because we all need somebody, don't we, Elaine?
We do. I didn't have anybody when I went through my cancer journeys.
Wow.
And everything I've got through pretty much on my own. And it's also very difficult when you've got family, friends, all, peer pressure, medical pressure. You must do this, you must do that. And in the middle of all that, you tend to lose yourself. So to speak, in fact, today is one of my helpline volunteer days. I man, along with other people, we man a helpline for the charity Yes to Life. .org.uk, and today is my helpline day. So I take calls from people newly diagnosed with cancer, and we can set them on an initial path. And the number of people, typically women, because men tend to keep put their head in the sand, as I'm sure you've experienced.
Yeah.
The women they start off feeling quite lonely and isolated and in tears because they've just got a diagnosis and they've been told, some of them literally go home and die, put your affairs in order. By the end of the conversation, they're still crying, but tears of hope and joy, knowing that there is something that they can do to help themselves. So it's really quite a humbling experience supporting people that are so vulnerable. Yeah. So matrix re-imprinting. So I know a little bit about it, but for the benefit of the listeners, Penny, can you explain what it is, please?
Yes. So simply, it is tapping with a combination of nearly every other modality you can think of. So you can go back and speak to your inner child. We call them echoes, energetic conscious holograms, to find that belief, whether it's in this life, depending on which client I work with, if you believe in past lives or not, it's irrelevant. But finding where we've made these beliefs and looking at beliefs, interestingly, around chemotherapy, about allopathic, Western medicine, about what cancer is, the beliefs that you will die because Granny Stewart had cancer, she died of that, and grandma, blah, blah. And you listen to all these stories as you're growing up and take on that perception and those beliefs. So we invite our clients to change those beliefs, let go of these limiting beliefs, look at processing the trapped trauma. And a trauma, I always state that trauma doesn't have to be a big earthquake or a car crash, or it can be the smallest thing, somebody saying to you something at school and shoving you in a cupboard. And from that moment, that is a trauma for that 5-year-old child, who then takes on a belief that they are not good enough, they're stupid, that they're not worthy, that they can't heal themselves, whatever that is. We invite the client to change those beliefs and those perceptions about themselves and really change their inner DNA, which is backed up by Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and these beautiful, amazing scientists that are coming out of the closet, so to speak.
It's really an exciting time to be in healthcare, I think, because we've got the best of all worlds. And I think for those who are interested in taking a holistic view and an integrative view with the best of National Health Service and complementary stuff along. I don't like to call it alternative because most people who do completely alternative really struggle. I think the question of doing what's right for you, whether that is right for you, then obviously that's right for you. But generally speaking, an integrative approach using all different modalities that you can and that speak to you, because we're all different. All our cancers are different. All our health issues. I'm sure you don't do cancer, do you now, Penny? Do you still see clients with other issues?
Yes, only 50% of my clients, although my speciality is cancer. And I really love the fact that you said that, Elaine, about integrative, because I work with a lot of oncologists, and even my clients choose to take the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy, I'll work with them to support them to make their life the best. And so my clients can stem from mild depression, lupus, Lyme disease, Parkinson's, right across the board. And unfortunately, I'm seeing younger and younger people, because the pressure is so vast now for young people to do well. And with social media, it's as if their whole private lives are catalyzed to the whole world, and they have to look good. So unfortunately, I am seeing younger people these days. However, yes, it is right across the board. And at the beginning of the conversation, I did say that for me, I had mental health issues. At one point, I was diagnosed with manic depression. And still, if you look up on or Google it, it says that there's no curable cure for manic depressive, which is now called bipolar. And yet, with an integrative approach, I chose not to take medication myself. However, through trial and error, I found a way to release these traumas and invite myself back on a balance. So at one point, I was very ill and tried to commit suicide. And that was 15 years ago. It was like a different person dying.
Wonderful, wonderful, happy ending. I do like a happy ending. Well, it's not an ending, is it? I mean, I'm sure, like me, you feel like you're just starting. There's so much more we still have to learn, and so many more people still to help out there. It's wonderful that we're in a position that we can use our experience and our knowledge to help other people, and it's great, to meet like-minded people like you. So thank you for spending time this afternoon. So you're based in London, in the Chiswick area, Penny?
Yes, in West London. I've been in Chiswick for many, many years now. I keep on threatening to leave, but London has a pull for me.
I can't remember the name of the venue now. I can see it in my mind's eye, but years ago I managed a band for a short while, and we had a gig, and we kept going around this one-way system, and we crossed this traffic light section, and it must have been 6 times, and we couldn't get to this damn venue. Eventually we made, is there a venue called the Orange? That seems to ring a bell. Anyway,
yeah, that might have been quite a while ago.
Yes, it was. Yeah, a long time ago. Anyway, that's my my lingering memory of Chiswick, and of course the flyover. So how could people get hold of you, Penny?
I've got a website, changeahead.biz, or you can call me up, and on my mobile. I'm pretty flexible. I am quite busy though. I booked up, and I train across the world, so I do invite people to book on my website, changeahead.biz, just to have a chat for 20 minutes. There's no obligation. You can ask me any questions that you have about my point of view and how I can help, or how one of my practitioners can help you if I'm not the right fit. Because I'm a great believer in finding somebody that you not only trust, but you also are a good fit with.
Exactly. The chemistry has to work, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because we're going to embark on a journey. This is not just 1 or 2 sessions. This is going to be a long time. And I invite people to really get naked with me. And when I mean naked, really get into their nitty-gritty soul, to invite them to see how amazing they are, because we're conditioned in Britain not to think that we're beautiful, or we think it's egotistical or selfish. We look at, you know, all these conditioning and all these domestic sayings, Elaine, that I laugh at now, but I was one of those. I was conditioned and domesticated, just like my little pussycat who's come to join us.
Yeah, me too. In fact, I've written a paper on that very topic this morning. Things like, you know, doctor knows best, don't speak till you're spoken to, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
We're brought up as a child not to say things, not to show feelings, etc., etc. And then when we get older, we realise that's actually completely wrong, isn't it? We turn ourselves upside down and inside out.
I know, and even emotions. I don't know why I'm going to bring this up, because I can't remember the name of the book, which is very bad. So I do apologise, listeners. However, it's about emotions, and the lady that wrote the book, it's basically a dictionary of emotions. And she said that emotions, for example, in the Aboriginals, have 10 different words for fear. But we very rarely speak about the different emotions of fear. And as animals, we need to be fearful of certain things in life, because it'd be really silly if we just walked in front of a car and didn't have fear, or we jumped off cliffs without having that knowledge of the consequences. But that fear of life and that fear of just living and simply, just embracing life can be very fearful to people, because they've been taught that they shouldn't do it. They shouldn't become that rock star. They should become the accountant. And then we become fearful of just showing our true, authentic selves.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the language that we use is just it can be so catastrophic. And I often end up sort of having to unravel conversations when people have been told by medics that there is nothing more that they can do for them, and, you know, go home and put your affairs in order, etc., etc. And my answer to that is, well, that's great, because you can now do whatever you want. You're not beholden to anybody. Now you can really get to the nitty gritty and start living, you know, replanning your life, making plans, etc. Because there's so much you can do for yourself. But it's the language and the way, you know, the fear is, you know, when you're given such bad news, it's always a good idea to have somebody with you for key appointments, because you don't know if you're going to be given bad news or not. Hopefully not. But I'm a strong character, and I've often done appointments on my own. But when I was given a year to live back in 2015, I hardly remember the conversation. Luckily, my daughter was with me, and all I remember the consultant saying that unless I did exactly what she said, I would be extremely ill by Christmas, and that would have been Christmas 2015. I didn't do what she said. I did a little bit of what she said, but on my terms, and I did lots of other things, and I got through it in 14 weeks. So there's so many, you know, things that you can do, but we're just not taught. I was speaking to somebody recently, and their oncologist told them there's absolutely nothing that they can do that would help themselves. You either do chemo, radiation, take this medication, it's my way or the highway, and if you don't follow what I say, I'm not going to look after you, and I'm not going to give you scans. You're wasting my time, and you're taking time up that I could be helping somebody else. So they go away, the person goes away with their tail between their legs thinking, oh, you know, doom, gloom. But my view is completely the other way around. You know, great, let's get rocking.
I know.
It's lovely to talk to you and to hear your long experience. So I will be putting you on my list of referrals.
Thank you. It's so interesting, because it's one of the first things that I deal with a client, is that trauma of them being told that they've got cancer. Because even the word for me, Elaine, about cancer, you know, some of my friends, when I'm speaking about it, and I speak about it all the time, and they go, oh my God, you stop speaking about it, Penny. Well, I don't want us to just be fearful of that word, and to understand that there are, as you said, Elaine, and you're an inspiration yourself, that there's different ways, and every person is unique and can be guided in a different way. And once we actually realize that there are choices, that we don't just, there's not just one way. We're not prosecutors. That old Greek myth that when he opened his bed and breakfast, he had one size bed, and anybody that came to see him and sleep in his bed, if they didn't fit, he'd cut off their arm or leg to make them fit. That's not how we are. We're human beings. And as beings, we need different things. And to look at our lifestyle, our food, our traumas, our themes in our lives, our patterns. And you did that amazingly very quickly.
As I say, I'm a bit of a tough cookie. I'm bulletproof, as some of my friends call me, bulletproof. But obviously I did things wrong for many, many years to get myself into the state of having cancer, and I'm obviously predisposed to it because I've had 4, and each one has been different. So that's the conversation for another day. Anyway, lovely to connect with you, Penny, and changeahead.biz was the website.
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay. And 2 song choices. The first one you've selected is Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. Why did you select that one?
Yes, this is an interesting one for me because I'm not a big Michael Jackson fan. And interestingly, it's one of the very few songs that he didn't write himself that 2 other people wrote. Do not ask me their names. However, I love the fact that there is the chorus in itself, because I kept on changing career because I thought I was doing something wrong. And I heard Einstein's great quote that I'm going to probably misquote now, by saying that if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, that's a sign of insanity. Well, I was already diagnosed as insane with bipolar. However, the chorus is something along the line that I'm starting with the man in the mirror, and he's asking himself to change his ways. And the message is so clear that we need to look inside ourselves to actually start wanting to make that change. And if we want a better world, we need to change ourselves. And for me, the body is a world. It's so amazing, our body, that we need to start changing ourselves, our beliefs, our perception. So that, to me, that song is great to dance to as well. And I like to bop around. But the words, the lyrics mean so much to me.
Wonderful. The other song, I'm going to ask you to say it because I can't pronounce it.
It's Chumbawamba, and the name of the song is Tub Thumping. Now, it's not a very holistic song, because it's about, and at the time, I think it was more written about politics in Britain. I mean, yes, I think that was 20, 30 odd years ago it was written, and politics still will go on and on and on. However, for me, I call myself and my little group the Chumbawamba Chicks, because it's all about getting knocked down, but I get back up again, and nobody can keep us down. And I think sometimes society becomes so fearful that it suppresses us. And what better way to keep us in control and keep power over us if we keep us in fear? So although it does say in the song, he drinks a whiskey drink, he drinks a vodka drink, which might have been the old Penny, the Penny before I had the nervous breakdown, that was a socialite, that was partying away and drank quite a lot. And I still have the odd glass of wine in a cocktail, but I don't drink that excessively at all. But it's just about hope that, you know what, it doesn't matter what happens. We can get knocked down, but we'll always get up again. And if we join together as a community, we'll be stronger to get back up again.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So on that note, here are your 2 songs. Thank you very much, Penny Croal, for joining us. Penny from changeahead.biz.
Thank you, Elaine. And yes, let's get up and start dancing around to these.
Fabulous.